Thank you so much for coming out here on a Sunday afternoon to Hong Lim Park to witness this historic event. This is the finale for Dr. Chee Soon Juan's Walk the Talk 2025, in case any of you didn't know why we're here. It is particularly special that we're ending here in Hong Lim Park because this place owes its existence to Dr. Chee. As the media, even the mainstream media, keeps reminding us. In fact, just last month, the Straits Times was doing a story on the passing of Professor Joseph Nye from the Harvard Kennedy School of Government. And they reported that he visited Singapore in 1999 and he met with Mr. Lee Kuan Yew. And at that time, Mr. Lee Kuan Yew said, "There's this little fuss about a dissident who said, I'm going to speak in Raffles Place without a permit." So, you know who that was, right? Of course. So, Professor Nye suggested to Mr. Lee that he set up a Hyde Park corner, apparently to contain Dr. Chee and to try and appease the public. So, on September 1st, the year 2000, Speaker's Corner in Hong Lim Park was founded. Now, Mr. Lee was wrong, though neither he nor Singapore's subsequent 3 prime ministers have been able to contain Dr. Chee. In fact, in 2007, when the Public Order Act allowed processions or gatherings of less than 5 people, Dr. Chee and Siok Chin actually did the first walk the talk. And this walk the talk was for workers' rights in Singapore. Then, of course, they amended the Public Order Act. And you know, in Singapore, one person walking alone is considered a procession. One person standing alone with a smiley face is considered an illegal assembly. It's a bit ridiculous, right? But you know, you cannot stop the SDP. No one can stop us from getting our message across. Especially now we have social media. And because we have social media, we don't need to do civil disobedience. We don't need to stand outside CPF wearing a tak boleh tahan t-shirt and get arrested. Okay, because you can say tak boleh tahan in your own home and 100,000 people can see it. And that's the beauty of social media. We applied for a police permit. You know, one of the journalists who was there when we kicked off this walk said, "Oh, you mean this is a permitted event?" I said, "Yes, this is a permitted event." We applied for a police permit weeks ago, and on Tuesday, I got a text from Jufri Salim saying the police permit has been approved 3 days before the event was supposed to start. But there were specific conditions, instructions, and the route had to be approved. That's why on the first day, you only see Dr. Chee walking alone. One man, okay, considered a legal procession. And in fact, we said we were allowed to have front marshals, back marshals, route marshals, but only up to 6 people. They said if a 7th person joins in, 1 person has to quickly run away so that we don't violate the conditions of the permit. And that is Singapore for you. So, Dr. Chee was not going to take it, confine himself to a few square meters here in Hong Lim. In fact, he was going to take the opportunity to walk around Singapore, meeting Singaporeans, hearing their stories, sharing our hopes, and yes, giving away books in a TikTok giveaway. It's the first time I've heard about it. It seemed to work pretty well. Some people got some free books. And raising funds for the work of the SDP. And those funds have come in amazingly. From what I heard, we are close to $50,000 raised in these 3 days. This is more than twice what we raised in the last edition of Walk the Talk in 2015. While there have been 1 or 2 big donors, and thank you, the vast majority of people who have given $10, $20, $50, some with very encouraging messages. Keep up the good work. Way to go, Dr. Chee. Things like this. So in other words, this is ordinary Singaporeans speaking up and making their case heard. You know, they always say it's easy to say something, but where your treasure is, there your heart is also. So you see people actually giving funds for things that they believe in. And what we believe in is a Singapore which is not just for the elite who live in huge bungalows in Rideout Road, but for every single one of us, young or old, able-bodied or disabled, every race, culture and creed. This is our country. We want it back. And we want Dr. Chee and the rest of us in the Singapore Democratic Party to speak up boldly for Singaporeans, whether it's here in Hong Lim or in Parliament one day. Now, we have just come through a punishing election campaign. People ask me, how do you all do it? So we're up until almost 11 o'clock at night, and I know some of the logistics people are up even later than that. Here every night for the 9 days of the campaign. And many people were energized by the campaign, and most of them felt disappointed by the results. People have come up to me and they've said, you know, you and your party ran a good campaign, it's too bad that you lost. My response now is that in a contest which is so skewed, even showing up is an achievement, and effectively and powerfully getting our message across is a kind of victory. Not the kind of victory we hope for, but at least we got the message across. And the fact that so many young people are coming forward because they believe that we can make a change, we can make a difference. In fact, the first order of business post-GE 2025 is our campaign for electoral reform. We need to ensure that every Singaporean's voice counts equally, whether you live in Marine Parade, in Malacca, or in Melbourne. The ridiculous gerrymandering which took away Bukit Batok SMC just weeks before the general election, where Dr. Chee and the SDP team had been walking the ground for 10 years. All the extensive use of state resources to fund handouts and vouchers in the form of $1 deals. Come on, for $1 you get 2 trays of eggs or a bag of rice plus a bottle of cooking oil. They distort the electoral process. And this has deprived Singaporeans of the opportunity to make reasoned, long-term decisions about our future. The total control of the mainstream media has also left Singaporeans relatively uninformed about the different visions from Singapore from the different political parties. Thank God again for social media, which has allowed us to get our message across in a limited fashion, but it's also subject to IMDA regulations, class license regulations, and all kinds of other policies. In fact, in the last general election, supporters of the ruling party were documented by international fact checkers of spreading misinformation about one of the Workers' Party candidates. Inauthentic accounts and bots were also identified by Channel News Asia, of all people, as being active against opposition candidates, especially from the Workers' Party, but also against the SDP and Dr. Chee. Now, all that is not new, but it doesn't have to be. So this electoral reform campaign is a non-partisan effort. All political parties and all Singaporeans will benefit. In fact, even the PAP, if they can win a fair election without all the gerrymandering and vouchers and handouts and media controls, I think they'll be less paranoid and they may be a bit more confident. So with the first world electoral process, Singaporeans will actually have the ability to make free and independent choices for our future. As you've heard, we're also working on a cooperative to enable workers in Singapore to take control of our livelihoods. Beginning a small way, we're building up to a potential challenge to the monopoly currently exercised by NTUC and its various arms, not exercised very cleverly as we have seen from the Income Alliance fiasco. We have submitted our application to MCCY and are waiting to hear back from them. But enough of the future. There are plenty of opportunities to find out more about the SDP's plans and activities. Sign up as a change maker if you haven't already done so. And come and join us in our outreach efforts. It was heartening to see so many young, new change makers come forward during this event. While our police permit only covered Dr. Chee's walk around Singapore, as many of you fervently believe we never walk alone. There were many people behind the scenes who made this possible. This has been an amazing effort by Team SDP. Give everyone a round of applause.